For the first time since the 1950s, the NASCAR Cup Series will be having a points-playing race internationally, going south of the border to race in Mexico City. Now, the last time the Cup Series held a points-paying race outside of the United States was in 1958 in Canada, when Lee Petty won at Canadian Exposition Stadium in Toronto. Now, NASCAR also ran an exhibition race in Japan for 3 consecutive years from 1996 to 1998. The first 2 years were at Suzuka, and the final year was at Twin Wing Motegi. Now, NASCAR has gone international again with a huge triple-header weekend set for June 2025. The Cup and Xfinity Series will join the Mexico Series at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, the same track that hosts the Mexican Grand Prix. Now, the Cup race will take place on Sunday, June 15th, 2025 on Amazon Prime, while the Xfinity race is the day before on Saturday, June 14th, airing on the CW network, the graphic courtesy there of NASCAR. Yeah, it looks like that's definitely one I'll have to suffer after Le Mans just to do it, because history in the making. Simple question, starting with you, Matt. How excited are you about NASCAR racing in Mexico City? And what does the opportunity to race internationally mean for the sport as a whole?
Well, first of all, glad to be back after my little sojourn last week. I missed you guys last week while I was on Hollybobs. But good to have, as you said at the top, Josh, massive news to talk about. And this is pretty big time, isn't it? Great to see that this little southeastern sport of NASCAR in America is starting to spread the wings a little bit and going overseas. And Mexico is probably the most obvious choice. You would think the facility is already there, raring to go. It's another street/road course, I suppose, bit of a hybrid we would call it in the Formula One world, but another road course to add to the schedule. I'm excited about it. It should be great. We'll have, obviously, as you mentioned, the NASCAR Mexico Series there in support. You would imagine that a select few of those guys would try and get into some rides in Xfinity to boost that race up, especially on the Saturday, and then maybe a couple into the big race on the Sunday. But yeah, really good news. It seems like as we go out live on a Wednesday night at 20 to 11 p.m. UK time that we're going to get the full schedule tomorrow. Adam Stern was reporting that on X not so long ago. So if you're watching live, then we'll get it tomorrow. If you're probably watching this on delay, you might have it on NASCAR.com by now. So we'll have the full schedule to see where everything's going. But this one is locked in that mid-June date, as you say, on Le Mans weekend. So it's going to be a busy one because we've got Montreal Grand Prix that weekend too. So it's going to be stacked. So yeah, really, really excited to see how this plays out. And as we know from Formula One and from Formula E as well, the Mexican people will come, they will turn up, and they will make a heck of a lot of noise and support their guy. We're going to talk about him shortly, but it's just going to be, they've made some good moves recently. We've got Chicago Street Race. We've got Bowman Gray coming back next year. The Coliseum stuff. They're just nice moving pieces in the schedule for big marquee events. And hopefully if this one goes off without too many problems in the first year, then NASCAR can make this one a big marquee summer event there in that mid-June weekend.
Definitely, maybe.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, what a way to really expand out, from just the U.S. I mean, I remember some of the rumors of maybe NASCAR was going to go to Brazil, and I just remember back in the day of Enter 2003 racing, where there were literally whole series of just Brazilian drivers and people from other countries who love NASCAR. And I mean, this is great for capturing that audience, for capturing that group of people, different groups of people who don't live in the U.S., who aren't in the U.S. And also, I think it's cool that NASCAR is kind of retooling, that old approach of we need to be in as many markets as possible, because obviously we had a run at this track from 05 to 08. We had Truex, Hamlin, Montoya, Busch. They all won at the track, and it was a big success. So it's good to see this coming back. And I'm sure this time around, along with other experiments that NASCAR has done, it's going to be a lot more success that will come with it. And I mean, yeah, it's going to be great. It's great to see.
Yes, absolutely. And NASCAR has entered a multi-year contract with Mexico City to race at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. As Ben Kennedy said, this has been on their radar for a long time, as you touched upon, Jonathan. He mentioned all of the successes they've had taking the Cup Series to new markets such as Austin, Texas, and Nashville, Tennessee. Now, the Clash in Los Angeles, the street race in Chicago, are now heading out of the country to race in Mexico City as well. However, this isn't the first National Series race at this track. From 2005 to 2010, the Xfinity Series raced here as well. Adam says NASCAR has had exhibition races in Japan and Australia in the past as well. But keeping on going, current Cup Series drivers, as you've pointed out, Jonathan, as well, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Busch were past winners of those Xfinity races in Mexico City. Plus, as you say, Juan Pablo Montoya as well. 2008 as well was the Xfinity Series racing here as well. From the F1 race there, we know how electric the stadium section of the track is when the cars go by, especially if the driver is from Mexico. Sergio Perez gets a lot of love from Mexican fans in his home Grand Prix, and we expect a similar reaction for Daniel Suarez when he gets to compete in his home country in a Cup race. His fan base is called the Daniels Amigos as well. That's fantastic. And if they do not do a massive Mexican weekend like Formula One did when they first went there, I want the sombreros, I want the bands, I want it all going in. Suarez has said, yeah, Jonathan agrees. Suarez has said that this was a dream come true for him because he remembered dreaming about the Premier Series coming to Mexico, and now, an entire decade after competing in the Mexico Series, Suarez's dream has come true. And he was there to help NASCAR make the historic announcement in Mexico City. So, Jonathan, coming to you on this one, how big of a role can Daniel Suarez play in the Mexico City race weekend success? He's NASCAR's most successful Mexican driver ever.
A big part, I think, especially because, we've seen him have success. He's won on a road course before. He's done well on ovals. He's the type of driver who, he could run well in Mexico City, and then he could go run well at Richmond. He could go win Atlanta. He could run well at Iowa. We've seen that happen before. So I think this is great, and being able to connect with, the fans and understanding what do people like there? How can you best connect with them? Because, obviously, Daniel grew up in Mexico. It's awesome. It's great to see. It's great that they had him with, the whole announcement and everything, and especially as he's on the upswing as well. And Josh, I will add one thing to your celebration. You got to have a mariachi band. Got to get that in there.
Oh, I agree with you there. Got to have it.
He'll be everywhere, won't he, Suarez, in the weeks leading up to that, on TV, on the whoever TV partner we're with at that point, because I'm still not quite up to speed with who's got what for what the next summer with all the changes that are going
Amazon.
on. But it's good. Obviously, this race is going to be on Amazon and it's all over the place. But he'll be the poster boy, like Sergio Perez has been for the Grand Prix there in the past. It's a little bit reminds me a little bit of. I'm trying to think. Mid 2000s to sort of 2010 era of IndyCar when we had all that Brazilian influence. You had Canan, Castro Neves, Vitor Meira, Rafa Matos. We had all those Brazilian guys in, and we had races in Sao Paulo and wherever else. It's taken NASCAR a little while to get someone that can bring them to that point in going somewhere like this. And Suarez in the playoffs this year, of course, with that win by a nose hair at Atlanta earlier in the year. It was that close. So that was, that's good. He's there. He's at the front of the field. He's the leading Trackhouse car this year in the championship. If you look at that the way they've got the championship standing, so massive deal. I've just everything points to a big thumbs up and a good tick and a really good piece of good news for NASCAR. A lot of people have been moan the schedule always, and that will happen tomorrow when the schedule comes out in full. But I think this is a really good positive thumbs up for them.
And to add to that as well, I mean, one driver who I think could possibly, maybe get an Xfinity ride, maybe get like a Mexico Series ride. Andres Perez, we've seen him in ARCA, we've seen him in trucks. He made a start. I mean, this could be a huge opportunity for him. And I mean, elevate a star of the sport or rising star of the sport, because he's also from Mexico City. A lot of opportunities.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things recently as well with motorsports wanting to expand in other areas on that side of the pond as well. Formula One have been looking at possible races in Argentina. That's been strengthened today with news we'll get on to a bit later on with an Argentine driver coming into it as well. There's been news that IndyCar also want to go to Mexico City, also want to go to Canada. NASCAR have now announced Mexico City. They have been in talks with going to Canada as well. So there's a real emphasis that we need to get more races, not just in America, but around the whole area as well on that side of the world. So that's great news that things are starting to come up. You were talking, Matt, about the schedule as well as just quickly, we see behind the mic, hello, Matthew, says it would be really great if Daniel could bag a win in May or early June leading into the race. Certainly would drum up publicity as well. SVG could win in 2025 in Mexico City. That's another possibility as well. It's looks like it's going to be a combination of the FE and F1 layout. So it's that, was it 2.5 miles? So there's going to cut out some of the corners and a bit slimmed down to the FE layout.